Welcome. It is Monday, November 27th, and it's another week of How to Crypto Live. Time to talk some crypto to you. First off, like and subscribe to my channel. I never say that, but please go ahead and do so. Help me out. I'm going to continue this. I'm going to take a step back. I got some news maybe later this week for everybody, but I'm gonna take a step back from really making a lot of videos and get started on another big project of mine. But this How to Crypto Live, it takes me maybe about 30 minutes to put together, maybe 15 minutes. I got an awesome little template all together, write down some things that I go. And I really love doing this because um, it keeps me up to date, and also it shares some weekly wisdom with you guys, and that is a big thing for me. We're gonna start something awesome this week, and I can't wait to talk to you guys about it. And I can't believe I forgot my book. Anyway, what's going on in the crypto markets right now? I gotta tell you something cool. The Tether Treasury just printed, or minted, I should say, $1 billion. Yes, go read that tweet again. The Treasury just minted $1 billion worth of USDT. $1 billion has just entered the market. So if we go by that metric, that every $1 billion that enters the market has about 118 times purchasing power, we should see some money enter the market pretty soon. So that is actually really big news. So right now, the Bitcoin prices. Let's see if I could do this live for you guys. You see CoinGecko here. I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but I'm gonna try something new. Bitcoin price is 37 one, higher than last week. My last video. Ethereum is just over 2. So that is where we are at with that market right now. So let's see how I can cancel this off now and go from there. Well, now I can. Oh, there you go. Cool. So learning new things as we go. Hopefully you guys can saw that. Yes, awesome. AM, thanks for giving me a shout out, letting you know you can see it. The good news is, as I made that last video last week, I said hopefully we should see a move up from Bitcoin. Bitcoin did actually go over 38,000 last week, which was good. A lot of people thought we were going over 40 at that time, and then bam, we dropped down again. Bitcoin has been kind of ranging in since then. And today, yesterday, this weekend, a lot of people started to get a little bearish, which was kind of good news. We started seeing a lot of people start thinking that Bitcoin might go back down, which is going to fuel another rise. Right? When is that rise going to come? Well, we should be looking for metrics of when money is going to enter that market. And we just literally 30 minutes ago printed $1 billion into the market. Will we see that enter the market this week? I don't know. However, I do think when we hit another big run, it is going to run very heavily, and it's not going to stop right at 40. I think we're going to go right to 42 in one day in a very short period of time. However, will we hit 35 before we go to 42? We could liquidate all the longs and then ride up. That would make sense. The chart kind of makes it look like, again, sentiment-wise, it would actually make perfect sense. However, I'm not the best technical analysis. I'm more of an investor side of things. So that's where we are at. I got a good agenda for you guys today. Again, do weekly wisdom. I'm going to do it a little bit differently this week. I've been reading a book, and one book that really changed my life is The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. And I found a book called The 8th Habit, which is a follow-up book. And it's not to add to the habit, it's basically to add to the whole paradigm shift of opening your daily lives and so forth. And as I'm reading that book, it states that there's 12 chapters, and before they're going over it, and there's 12 chapters, And what it states is what you should do is the best way to learn things is to teach it. And right then, I'm like, absolutely. That is how I've learned. This is the whole reason why I started doing these things in crypto, is educational, programs all throughout the last year and a half, is because I understand crypto really well. But when I'm teaching it, I really have to dig in the details, to put it out into content wise. And I'm learning a little bit more, even though I thought I knew everything, but I didn't. I'm starting to learn a little bit more. I'm starting to add better things and so forth. So, what he says is try to develop a system where you can do one chapter, maybe one chapter a month, and then throughout that month, live it, teach it, preach it, and live in that chapter every month, and you can really utilize what's being said in each chapter. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to read a chapter, and I'm going to read that chapter a few times a week, and I'm going to bring it to you guys, and I'm going to teach it. Why not? It's literally almost the same thing. I try to say weekly wisdom, and here we go. So chapter 1 was more so about the freedom and power of choice. We all have choices in our lives. We all make our own choices. And so it's breaking down into kind of 3 things. And it's 1, the power of choice, 2, the principles of life, and 3, the 4 intelligences that we have. And this is about us finding our voice. That was the title of the chapter, finding our voice, and it breaks down into those 3. Its first is the power of choice. When anything comes to us in life, we have a reaction or an action or so forth that we put out there. And in between that is the power of choice. Somebody yells at you, somebody cuts you off, somebody does this, bad news hits, you got fired. You have a second to react. You have maybe an initial reaction. Some people react right away. Some people have very short fuses, right? You hear that before. But some people have longer. And you can develop that space in between what happened and how you're going to react. And you could develop that space depending on what you're doing in your life. Maybe it's from your genetics. Maybe it's from how you were raised. But we can all improve that space depending on what you're doing in your life and how you're doing things. But you have to realize that we all have a choice, regardless of the situation, regardless what happened. You win the lottery, you have that power of choice on how to react, good, bad, so forth. And if you understand that we all have choices in every situation in life, it can really open up a lot of doors and a lot of mental aspects for you guys. Now, I am terrible at summarizing this stuff, so I highly suggest reading the book yourself, but just throwing this out there. Also, the second one was the principles of life. And then the 4th one was the 4 intelligences. We have the IQ, which is more mental intelligence, how smart you are, how quick you think, so forth. We have the spiritual, how grounded you are, how, your morals, so forth. We have the EQ, which is your emotional intelligences, which is how emotional you get on things. And then we have the physical intelligences. So those are the 4 things that we should be working on to expand that space of our choices to have a much better life. So anyway, this is weekly wisdom. I'm gonna get better at it as we go throughout the weeks. This was chapter 1. I read it, I summarized it. I'm gonna continue to read it, and I'm gonna start chapter 2, and I'm gonna read it at least 3 times before next week, and hopefully I could have a better summary and so forth. Just started this book last week, and I said this is perfect. So that's that. I don't want to take a terrible amount of time. Again, I want to keep these videos about 15, 20 minutes and so forth. And I want to also make it mostly about crypto. So what's on our agenda, topics to cover today? What happened in last week? Man, we had the biggest news about Binance. Binance, oh man, how can we not talk about Binance? When Binance was the biggest, largest exchange, it was having about $50 billion of volume a day. Ever since the news, it's dropped off heavily. I think they lost like 90% of their volume or so forth. But what happened with the Department of Justice going after Binance. This is huge news because a few things. One, Binance was probably the biggest, most scariest bear market thing that we thought if Binance collapsed, crypto's over with. A lot of people thought that, even though obviously one exchange does not make crypto. Yes, there's a lot of volume and liquidity flushing, which maybe had the prices high, but it's over with now. It's over with now. That's in the past. We already, the worst is done. I mean, this is one of the most bullish things. Also, two is now, conspiracies, all this. I mean, Binance seems to be in the hands of the US government now. So that's another bullish case when we know that the government is a working arm of the banks, of the corporations who pay them. So they're on the salaries of all these big bankers and they're going after their competition. Who's the competition? Binance. Binance is a direct competition of their ETFs and so forth. So now Binance is in the hands of the government, which is on the payroll of the big banks, that's about to launch a product to compete with Binance. Okay, so that means the big money's in. The big money's in control, and the bankers are about to enter the market. So to me, good thing, bad thing. Good thing because again, the bankers are here. The big money's here. Bad thing because the big money's here. The bankers are here. We're gonna have to play their game now. And we've been playing a game of more freedom, more, I mean, it's been a very small market where it's not highly algorithmized, which if you got into crypto in 2016, 2017, man, there was so many opportunities out there. You can find arbitrage opportunities, and now it's just extremely automized and bots everywhere, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse as these big teams enter the market to try to suck every opportunity out there is automatically. So it's going to get a very difficult market to win in for little guys like me who literally, I don't have a team. I'm not paying anybody to build things or to, scrape information or, again, I'm one guy. And so now I'm going to have to compete with these big bankers who have teams of hundreds and thousands. So it's going to get a little bit more difficult. However, a lot of money's coming into the market. They can manipulate it. If we can find the ways that they're going to move their money, I think that the biggest opportunities for us are right here. We can leech off all of their money. We can leech off all their products, and we can suck some out of their big money printer that's just funneling in. And imagine it's just a big faucet of money flowing in and it's going to go into their pond while we're sitting there dripping and drinking from it because, again, we know crypto. We know the system. We understand it. And that funnel of water coming in is going to rise all boats, right? But however, the big money's here. So after this big rise and big wave, now it becomes a highly, highly, highly gated, difficult market to play in. So what I'm saying is that this very well may be the last opportunity for little guys like us to make it really big. And then after that, it's, it's like gambling in the stock market singly. Can you do it? Sure. It's just very difficult and majority people lose. Right now in crypto, if you've been around in the past few years, almost everybody wins. It's hard not to lose if you really stuck to it because there's so much growth. Well, that growth is here. It's going to be absolutely massive. And then after that, it's going to be a game of probabilities. Right? So the Binance news, great news. Great news. That's past. Money's to be made now. Look at the future ahead. The big banks are here. But it was It was sad to see CZ go. CZ was he was like one of us. He was like a big degen. I was never a big Binance user. Again, I mainly stay on chain. My whole goal is to buy crap before it gets on Binance. And if it's traded before Binance and Binance goes up and everything, I can still sell it on chain. Mostly stay 100% on chain, so I never really use centralized exchanges. But CZ was a big advocate for crypto. I mean, to what we saw, right? The DOJ, however, did say that ISIS and Al Qaeda and terrorist organizations was using Binance to transfer money. But again, I have a big question for you. We know, or most people believe that ISIS is an arm of the CIA and the US government, that they created ISIS. So did they use their platform and then say, hey, and then use their own accounts to go after Binance? Probably. Again, it's all at the hand of the big banks. So, enough conspiracy theories. But also, too, that same right after one of the SEC commissioners came out and said there's no reason to stop a spot ETF, right? So, again, they're paving the way for them to control the markets, getting rid of the competition, putting it in their own hands. So, and another big news I want to go over, and then I'll stop. If you guys did not see, is the Argentina president. I guess he's big pro Bitcoin. He has been saying that he's going to get rid of the central banks and so forth. This is something to look forward to over the next year and so forth. Not huge to pay real big attention to, but to see what they do and how they change around their economy if they adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. Somebody mentions like, oh, if they adopt legal tender, their whole world's going to change. And it's like, but why? It just can't be just Bitcoin. And so look at El Salvador, and it's like El Salvador went after the whole cartel and completely gutted that whole system of, illegal activities and so forth. And it's like, isn't that why the economy is doing better? I mean, yes, it has. I mean, is it really Bitcoin that's really making the economy better there? Is it because they literally just wiped out all the illegal activities and and is investing into the economy? I think that's why it's doing better. It's not just Bitcoin, but that's the narrative that they want you to believe, is that it's Bitcoin. That's the narrative, even though Bitcoin, I guarantee you, didn't rack up 40,000 criminals and put them in jail. That was something else, right? But it's the narrative that they want to drive. They want to drive how Bitcoin creates a better world, a better economy. And they can do it on such a small scale because it's easy. Again, El Salvador is the smallest country, one of the smallest countries in the world. Very easy to do. And now they're going to continuously kind of do it in certain places. And I'd love to see if they do this in Argentina. I think they're going to clean up Central America first. That's going to be a haven where you might see me move to in the next few years to escape some of the chaos that will come if fiat does collapse. So anyway, that's definitely on my radar. I highly suggest keeping an eye on it over the next months, years, to see how they adopt Bitcoin, and if they're going to use that as an excuse why their economy is going to completely turn around, even though there's different layers going on in the background. So something to watch out for. Anyway, it is Monday. We're going to have an awesome week. This is the end of November. December 1st is Friday. So we got a new month here. We got a new monthly close. Are we going to see that explosive growth in Bitcoin the first week of December and then a down on the back end? That was my original thesis. I think we're going to hit 48K Bitcoin in the first 2 weeks of December. This is what I'm watching for. I'm waiting for an amazing 2 weeks ahead of us. This is what I'm looking for. Will I be right? Will I be wrong? I don't know. I think we'll have a pullback in the later weeks in December. So I'm looking for some explosion either this week or next week. And I think it starts to rally towards the end of this week because, again, December. And then next week, I think we start that big explosion past 40 to 42 and so forth. So maybe this week we see that little drawdown and maybe the monthly close is around 35 and then bam, off to the races. Um, Again, I don't know, but that's what I am looking out for the next few weeks. And however, if Bitcoin does hit 35 and start to skyrocket, we're going to see some narratives take off in altcoins. What is that narrative? It's anybody's guess. However, looking around the markets, I think DeFi right now is being overplayed. So Bitcoin skyrockets, Ethereum bounces off the Bitcoin price, Ethereum starts to take off. After that, maybe a good time to rotate. Bitcoin hits, 46, 40 something, a little over 42. You pull that back into Ethereum, and then DeFi starts to run. Ethereum takes off, and I think we might see a DeFi cycle into the new year. That's just me. That's where I'm putting my money. Letting y'all know. I'll see you next week, and we'll see where we're at. Peace.